Hey everybody, Gisele Grenier here. So I'd like to welcome you to into my studio. And if you're watching this, you're probably just getting started with artist trading cards, or you're not quite sure what they are. You want to participate in a swap, but kind of want to know a little bit more about them. So what I did is on my table, I arranged a whole bunch that I've made up. Because when I make trading cards, I'll make up many at a time, and then I'll reserve some for demonstration purposes. That's what I did here. Plus, I included some that I've received in swaps and as gifts. So let's go down the table. So look at this. They're all different. There's nothing really consistent about these other than they're all 2.5 by 3.5 inches. That's really the rule. 2.5 by 3.5 inches. End of. In another video, I'm going to show you some things that you can use to make them, because people say, oh, I don't have the right supplies, or I don't have the excuses, basically. And in that video, I'm going to basically, for every excuse you have, I'm going to counter it with what you can use. So there really is no reason why you can't do it. But look at all these, how beautiful they are. So again, they're all the same size, and some of them are flat with just a painting. Some of them have like super texture buttons and string and die cuts and flowers and crochet, feathers, gluey stuff and rhinestones. I mean, texture stuff. There's a whole bunch of different things. And really, when you create an artist trading card, it's just a miniature piece of art. That's all it is. You don't even need to overthink it. It's a piece of art that's 2.5 by 3.5 inches. And it can be as simple as taking, your substrate, so your watercolor paper or whatever, and putting on a coat of paint, collaging or collaging some elements, and signing the back. No big deal. And another video, I'm going to talk to you about that as well. So you don't need to overcomplicate it. Some of the trading cards that I've received are quite detailed, and they're almost like little miniature fine art pieces. Oh, me is whining. The one thing that I'm trying to see if I do have one that's I'm guilty of. So here's one that I created where, although it is 2.5 by 3.5, something is sticking out on here. So this type of thing is acceptable. What's not really acceptable is this being bigger than 2.5 by 3.5, because people sometimes will put them into sleeves. I put mine, and I'm cycling these out for the new year, into a little holder here. And this is the ARC system from Staples, and I just created pockets which will hold a lot of the trading cards. You can put them in boxes or albums or whatever you want. So to go over, so the simplest ones, taking just a piece of watercolor paper, gluing down some dictionary paper, and just doing a painting. You can, and then this one here is just a fancier painting on something textured. This one here, a Valentine theme. So that's the thing. Oh, can you hear her? Is a theme. Usually when you're doing swaps, there's always a theme. So this one here was Valentine. Actually, if I go, that's the only ones. This one. This one. So I'm just going to quickly, so these ones here were the theme of Valentine. Okay. She said yes. So I basically took thick cardstock, collaged a vintage piece, and then put crackle medium on it, put a little tag. She said yes. This is one of my first cards that I made. These ones here. This was the swap for Mark Montano. He hosted a swap, but that's what these ones was for. But so you can see that they are. Oh, I got paint on me. They're Valentine themes. So that's the thing, is the theme, and where some of the themes that for the swaps that I've held have been using something art like texture. So if I have a swap with texture as the theme, the card that you would make would have to have texture. Texture being, something like that, or something like that, or something like that, something like that, but not that, because that really has no texture to it. So something that's sticking out. Okay, if it was something with a theme of Christmas, oh my God, really anything for Christmas. What you think? I mean, this is a Christmas one as well, but it could also be a winter theme, because not everybody celebrates Christmas. There's this one here. What else? This is more of a vintage one. But I mean, so you get the idea of all the different things that you can do. So the artist trading card, basically 2.5 by 3.5, works with a theme. No rules in creating it, so you use your favorite mediums, textures, whatever. Keep it as simple or as complicated as you want. And then on the back, you don't have to do it as fancy as this. So you could, this was a swap that I did this from Allison. I love Allison's cards. So this was the theme of the contour mashup swap. And I mean, she really did something, a little envelope here. But so she put her information here and then the date and everything there. Then some people just put glue a piece of paper with their information here. You can get stamps, okay, which is like what I have here. You can stamp on the back. You don't have to get this fancy. Just that when you're making so many, sometimes just a stamp does work out. Then you also have, this is one called Travel, and it was an actual bifold artist trading card. We created this way. Although it's not 2.5 by 3.5 folded, it is. And Travel was the theme. So here's another one, which is a holiday theme on a piece of corrugated cardboard. This is the Vintage Christmas 2016 swap. So Vintage Christmas, it had to look vintage. So that's it. So 2.5 by 3.5, you follow the theme, you make your piece. Then on the back, you sign your name, the name of the swap, and you date it. And if you create a series, let's say you created 5 of the same card, 1 of 5, 2 of 5, 3 of 5, 4 of 5, 5 of 5. And that's that. The one tip that I would offer, and I'm going to cover this in another video, is whatever you're using to create the card, especially for a swap, make sure that your paper is thick enough for what you're creating. Meaning, where's a good example? Okay, so we'll use this one here. So this one here that I made, and although it looks really pretty, look how bent it is. And that's because of all the layers of stuff that I put on here, which is bizarre because this is actually watercolor paper. Maybe it's just the medium that just thicken this out. Oh, there's beads in here. That's why. I don't know if you can see all that texture in there. The medium, as it dries, it contracts, and that's what bent the paper. So if you're going to do something heavy, make sure your paper is heavy as well. Like this one here, looks like it's just the paper's not too thick, but there's dictionary paper with a crochet flower, and although it is flexible, there's not so much built up on here to warp the paper. And then this one as well. So this is 400-pound watercolor paper, which is really thick, and it still did bend a bit. I mean, I can still bend it back, and what it is the actual piece that I put on here, I put this on here and then I put the medium on, so everything was glued together and the medium contracted. To avoid that, this piece here I could have prepared separately and then glued it on here. Okay, so when you're building this stuff up, the thicker it is, the stronger your paper has to be. Here's a Kandinsky piece. This is a piece of cardboard packaging, and you know, it's a lot of stuff on here. It's still warped a little bit. You can't blatantly make it flat for everything. It just happens. You know, sometimes the stuff bends. Here's a nice straight one, corrugated cardboard. Here's one that I made just out of scrapbook paper. Okay, there's not a lot of stuff on here. There's a scrapbook paper, then there's a layer of paper there, a gluey thing there, my quote, something there, and then this. So there's a few things, and it bent just a little bit because I use very little medium. Okay, it's the medium that makes the stuff bend. All right, so that's that. And how complicated you make it is, or not complicated, how detailed you make it is completely up to you. You can do it as simple as a stencil to a full-blown with feathers and all this stuff. So I would say to start, we're going to do a project, a very simple one, to get you started and to ease you into doing the swaps. And then as you get more experience, especially if you're new to this, you'll start getting ideas of what to do. The one thing that I would encourage you is, if you are getting started in the swap, is don't ever think that the person you're sending it to is going to hate it. Because in the swapping community, and especially in the community that I have, is that everybody appreciates all art that's created, and you will never ever have somebody blatantly say to you that they hate what you sent them. And if anybody ever said that, they would be asked to leave, because art is subjective. What I like may not be what you like, and vice versa. But art is art, and it's created with your style and your love and your spirit. And in our community, all that stuff is appreciated. So never worry that somebody is going to dislike something that you've created for them. The other thing is happy mail. So happy mail. That when you create your piece, sometimes people will throw in little extra bits and bobs to help you, especially for beginners, to help. So if you've really new at this, the person that you're sending to will likely send you happy mail back, extra paper, little embellishments and stuff to help build your little arsenal of mixed media pieces to help you create more. So that's that. And for the swap, how it works is that, I post all the information in the community. I send out an email. You make the piece, and once the piece is made, then you sign up to receive a partner name. You don't sign up first, because you have to have the piece made first. And then I assign the names, and the person you're sending to is the same person that's going to be sending you as well. So you're sending to each other. And that's it. It's really, really simple. It's a lot of fun. And I really hope that you participate. So join me in the next video, or another video, where we actually start building a very simple card, but we go over some of the supplies that you use to get started, which is usually where people get stuck. All right. So until I see you in that lesson, stay inspired.